And welcome back. This is the Paracord Weaver, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Vargo Titanium Hexagon Wood Stove. I had done a bunch of filming on this, and the intro got messed up, so I'm having to redo it today. So when I open this up, you'll see that it's been used, and that was the first time I used it was during the review. So we'll get that video after we redo the intro here. So it comes just like this. It's a very small, compact, very light package. The presentation is very nice. This has been used one time for the review. It just folds open. There's little detents that the sides roll into. One of the first things I had to do was this tab right here that locks it in, if you can see it there, was too flat and the panel didn't stay locked in place. So I had to take and bend this tab open just a little bit. It didn't take very much. I don't think there's anything wrong with the product. But you can see there that it snaps in now, which it didn't do before. It would just flop off and it wouldn't stay together. So what they have is they have some small feet to allow air underneath and to come up from the bottom. And this door allows you to feed your wood, whatever product you're using to burn in here. It also moves to allow and restrict airflow so that you can adjust the flames. One of the things that I found out though is that this height, if I can get that there, this height is way too short, because only after a few minutes of burning the ashes would fall through the holes here and they would stack up, and then we lost all airflow from underneath, and then there wasn't enough constant airflow or consistent airflow around all of the fire, and it was kind of hard to keep it going. I've never used it before. That was the first time I'd used it, so using it more and more I would probably be able to make it burn a little bit better, learning more and more of how it really operates. So I wouldn't ding it too bad, but my thought is that because of that, that you should have some holes on these side panels. If we can focus it there. If they had some holes on these side panels, that would allow consistent airflow, a minimum airflow when this gets plugged up, so that the fire can stay burning. The other problem that I had was this door doesn't stay in any position. It's either closed or it's open. And if you try to prop a piece of wood in here to hold it in a place, you can't get more wood in the hole to keep the fire going. Because of the size, you have to constantly be putting material in here to keep the fire going. So you really only have one airflow, even though this door is supposed to adjust airflow, but it just flops. So there's no way to hold it in any position and be able to put wood in here to keep the fire going. The other option would be to have little slide panels that slide open slots so that you can do the airflow on the sides here and not have to worry about this being your air adjustment. I did find that it was sturdy enough to hold my pot. I did boil water. There was no problem there. It did take about 9 minutes though. And it was just over a cup of water. So let's go ahead and get to the actual review. So what I'm going to do is I went around the house here and I picked up some kindling and some medium sized little pieces of twigs to keep the fire going, and then a little bit bigger pieces. And then I wanted to have one long piece that I wanted to use like we do in a rocket stove, where we put it in and we just keep feeding it in. As it burns, we'll just keep pushing it in. So I wanted to test that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this on a pan here so that the ash will stay in the pan. And I'm going to use my day hiking kit. This is what I take whenever I go on a day hike. It has paracord knife, fire starting, shelter, just things like that. And I also take dryer lint, and I also bring a small tube of petroleum jelly. And the reason I keep my dryer lint and my petroleum jelly separate is so that I can use this in a lot of different places, on cuts, for chapped lips, and I get to decide how much I need to use in each application. So this gives me some options. The downside of doing it this way is you don't see how much you have left. So you may like to use a little container that has a screw-off lid, and you can fill it up with petroleum jelly, and then you'll know how much is left each time you go out. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull a little bit of this out, and it doesn't take too much. But we'll use a fair amount on this test here. And we'll pull out our fire starter stuff. And we'll grab our knife. And the knife we're going to be using is a cold steel Master Hunter VG1. So what I do is just put a little bit on here, and we'll use just a little bit more than we normally would. Normally I use just a little bit. I grabbed a little more lint than I normally do. I think I'll pull a little bit out there. And then we just mix it up around the lint, and that'll keep the lint burning a lot longer. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, I haven't used this yet, so I'm not sure all the little special techniques that it's going to take for this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it kind of long. Just a little bit more here. Looks like it's a little bit too dry. And what I'm going to do is, it doesn't look like I can get inside of that too well. So I'll put this kind of on the edge so that I can get my fire starter on that easy. Got some pine needles and some different things in here. And this is a little bit interesting having it inside of this. It's a little bit hard to work with, but it works. I'm sure it'll work as a great wind block. Okay. And what I wanted to do was to take a little bit of my shavings here. You don't have to, you don't bear down on this. You just barely click it, and it just puts a bunch of shavings in there. And it should stick to that petroleum jelly pretty easy. And you probably don't need to do this on really dry material. But in this case, I just wanted to show you all the different options here. Okay. I use the back of my blade. I also have one that's like this, that presses down. But this seems to work pretty well doing it this way. And you don't have to do it fast. You can do it slow. Let's see if we can get her to work here. There we go. So we've got that going there. We'll add a few more little pieces. Give it a push down in there. Now that petroleum jelly and dryer vent will normally last about 3 minutes. So it gives you some time to actually get some sticks going here and get them started well. So normally if you can't keep it going in 3 minutes, you probably are doing something wrong. You can see we got her going pretty good. Cut that air off a little bit. Now we're trying to build a little bit of a coal bed before you actually put pots and things like that on there. There, we got a little smoker. Let's get a little bit thicker piece in there. There we go. It's too long. There we go. Open it up a little bit. Use our knife. Get a little more air through. Having some way to adjust that door would be nice, so that it's all not just loose. If it had some detents or something on it, that would help. Now this whole piece gets really hot, as you can tell. And again, we're just building up our coal bed at the moment. And to get some good pieces going. And it looks like it started up pretty easy. I can start to hear a little bit of the fire sucking the air there, or pulling the air in from the door. So you can see the smoke swirling around underneath the bottom being drawn up. Also, it looks like it's being pushed out a little bit. So again, be very careful because this whole piece is very, very hot. Looks like I need to break my pieces down a little smaller. And again, make sure that you have plenty of dry wood, and you can use pretty much anything that's laying around, especially if you're using lint and petroleum jelly, because that will keep going for quite a while. And again, we're just building up a little bit of a coal bed. We're trying to lay it in there so that they cross each other, so that there's plenty of airflow around all the pieces. Let's see if I can show that to you in there. So you can see I'm not just throwing the sticks in there or the twigs in there, I'm actually setting them in there where they're on top of each other. And you can see when I open the door, that fire really starts to get going. So if you want to keep your fire going a little bit longer, we're obviously going to want to keep this closed. And it looks like when it gets hot, this door doesn't move very well, so that's something to keep in mind. One of our last big pieces there. Okay, so I'm going to let that smolder a little bit there. Try to get that open just a little bit. A little more air in. Use that stick to do that. Okay. So what we're going to do now that we're getting a coal bed going, I'm going to start my timer. And what I use is an old fondue pot. They're stainless steel typically, and I like having the shape on that. I don't like straight side bowls, especially out in the field. So let's get to our timer here. And we're going to go to the stopwatch, like that. And we'll start that in a second here, as soon as that one piece gets down. Right there. There we go. Okay, and we'll set that on there, and we'll start our timer. And I put just over a cup of water in there. And we'll see how she does here. She might be struggling a little bit with the pot on it. We have to mix up some of our lighter sized kindling here. Doesn't look like it has a whole lot of good flow once you put a pot on it or something. So that's a little concerning. Looks like it needs a lot more airflow than what's available. But that's why you keep lots of kindling and lightweight twigs and sticks close, because you never know when you're going to need to make adjustments. Seems like it needs a lot more airflow than what's available. Okay, the water's definitely getting warm, but this fire is not staying lit very well. So right at about 5 minutes, coming up on, and we don't quite have a boil yet. I can still put my finger in it, but it is hot. So this design is a little bit, excuse me, this design is a little bit difficult to get wood in there. And now, let's see if we can get something going, and then I'll slide this in as it burns, like we would with a rocket stove. Looks like it goes through wood pretty fast. Looks like it's burning it. So let's show you what we have for water. Let's see if I can get it here. Well, you can see it's starting to boil there. And we're right at about 9 minutes. See if I can get this down a little bit and zoom in where you can see. So I would definitely say that the water is boiling now. So you can get water up to temperature. But it takes a little bit of work. Remember, this is a very small wood stove. It's going to take a little bit of finesse to get to learn all of its little quirks and how it likes to be operated. And again, it looks like it needs more air than what's available. And it could just be how I put the wood in, but this is stuff I just found laying around, so I just wanted to use that and not use anything special, just the way I would normally use it out in the field. Okay, well, I think we've got what we wanted to do here. And just as I suspected, all the holes on the bottom are pretty well plugged up with ash already. So about 10 minutes, 15 minutes worth of fire, we're pretty much lost all of our airflow underneath due to the ash buildup. And that could be part of the airflow issue that I'm seeing. And fixing it, again, raising that up, using a couple of big sticks to raise it up another 2 or 3 inches anyways. That would probably give you a good half hour worth of run time. Give you plenty of things to cook, be able to boil some water, be able to generate some heat for yourself. I like the idea and design because it really helps keep the fire localized, so you don't have to, if a gust of wind comes up, you're not going to lose ash and possibly start a fire somewhere. So this is really good in that regard. I wanted to try this technique and see if I could get this to just push it in as it gets burned up. Yeah, we definitely have a good boil going now. So let's see what that looks like. And you can see that it's really boiling now. But again, we're at the 15-minute mark for a good strong boil. And this loose door is becoming an issue more and more. So we're going to go ahead and pull the boiling water off. I can't find my piece that screws in. I normally have a wood handle that screws into this and I can just pick it up. Can't find it. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up and put it in the kitchen. So normally we're going to have to let this cool off before we can get anything going. Go ahead and kick this out. Could be that this particular unit needs to be fed a lot slower than what I was feeding it. But again, we're back to needing more airflow. I think it's just starving it with air, or lack of air. You can see how much ash is underneath in just that short period of time. So we'll let that cool off for a few minutes. And make sure all of our little twigs are out. Maybe I could have found drier twigs. I don't know. But I wanted to make sure that we're doing it in a way that it would be out in the field. We're not doing anything special. You know, we're not doing anything special in this. This is how we're going to use it. And I don't want to contaminate that by using wood that's, you know, specialized, already dried out. I just went around and picked it off of trees, bushes that looked like they were dead, pine needles off the ground, things that you would do out in the field. So the two things that I see is that it needs more airflow to be efficient, to be an efficient burner, to burn hot enough to boil water, to cook food fast. We got to figure out how to get more airflow into this thing. And this door is troublesome because it won't stay. It won't stay in a position. If you could hold it in a position, and even wide open, it doesn't want to stay very easy. You know, just barely touch it and the thing wants to close. You can't just open it a little bit. So those are the two things that I see. Maybe some small holes on the side of these panels in here to maybe let some airflow in, especially as you use it and you start to build up ash in the bottom and it plugs these holes here. Having some holes on the side might help to allow more air in. So those are the things that I see. It is very sturdy when I set the pot on it. It didn't shake, so it's very strong in that regard. It's very small and it folds up really nice. And it should clean up just as nice. As soon as it cools off, you could probably just wipe it off with some water, put it back in the bag, and you'd be ready to go. So it's the Paracord Weaver. This is our review of the Vargo Titanium Hexagon Wood Stove. I think that I would use it. I am going to use it. I'm going to put it in my bug out bag because if I don't have anything, That's not good. This will be something, and I'll be able to set a pot on it and cook without having to rig something up. So that's going to be nice. So this is definitely going in the bug out bag and into the bag that I use for weekend camping and hiking and things like that. So it's the Paracord Weaver. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.